Hi.
Hello, sir.
I'm your worst nightmare, as you know, when I spoke to the Board of Commissioners the other day. Yeah, first of all, I want to correct some numbers that were brought up before. A wonderful gentleman over here quoted, I think, the LA Times, where they said that Vine Street project was $5.25 million invested to buy it from a developer. What happened in the Times, they claimed, was they paid $250,000 to a burger stand and moved up to about $5.5 million. And then they sold it back to the same developer for a little over $800,000. I was at the commissioners meeting, and I'm surprised you didn't correct the gentleman, because you should make sure everything's honest and above board here, that it's not $5.5 million that we've invested as taxpayers. Your own commissioners and your own staff said it was $7.9 million. It's on the public record. I was there, it's on a recording, $7.9 million is what they said invested, and they sold it back to the same developer for $800,000. And then they turned around, and that developer is a specialist in taking jobs away from the film industry in Los Angeles. He builds studios and facilities outside the state of California, gets tax benefits in those areas, and pulls jobs away. And this is the guy you're giving one of the most valuable properties in the city of LA for $800,000. But more importantly, I'm from the Atlanta East Side project area, which includes Boyle Heights, his neighborhood, includes Lincoln Heights and El Sereno. And I want to let you know that the Boyle Heights Neighborhood Council last night I spoke for, the executive committee, they just unanimously approved putting before their board this week an almost identical resolution I'm about to read to you that the Atlanta East Side is putting before our board this week. And let me read you the Atlanta East Side one. Motion to support Governor Brown's proposal to eliminate CRAs. It has been announced that the governor of the state of California has proposed the elimination of all community redevelopment agencies in the state. The CRA's Atlanta East Side Project Area Committee goes on record as supporting Governor Brown's proposal to dismantle community redevelopment agencies, including the CRA and our own CRA district, if and only if the CRA's tax increment money is redirected back to local schools and local governments as announced. Thank you.
So it's on the agenda. It hasn't been voted. It's on the agenda.
Next question. Dorothy.
Could you please give us an update on 1601 Vine?
Sure. Another update on 1601 Vine. So our board heard a report back with the questions that were posed by council members, community, and we put that into a report and are now sending that to the city council. The city council's Housing, Community, and Economic Development Committee is the next step to review all of the agreements and our additional report with additional facts, and they will conduct another hearing. And I'm sure, Councilman Cardenas, Councilmember Weston, they all had, Councilman Alarcon, all had some tough questions on that issue. So I'm sure there'll be another full discussion on that. Question? Sure.
What do you say to critics of redevelopment who state that the redevelopment process politicizes the planning process in a very unhelpful way by motivating the redevelopment agency to give its support and its financial resources to very wealthy developers who have purchased influence with the city councilmen through campaign contributions?
Good question. I think, again, that's a good question because it goes to the bigger question of the city of Los Angeles. But from us, we should be doing independent analysis of the project, whether it's a nonprofit developer, a small developer, or Eli Road, a large project. So all of that should be given into consideration as it affects the plan. Are we doing things that can make it catalytic? If the person, to us, it doesn't matter if it's an extremely wealthy developer, because what we should be doing, and our reports should be saying every time, and I see our new format has it really clearly spelled out, how much money needs to go to this project to build it, how much money will they see in revenue, and how much is there a gap. If there's no gap, we shouldn't be giving any money to it. If there is a gap, that's where our money is supposed to fill. And is that project catalytic enough to do something real for the community? The question of whether it then becomes politicized and whether it gets to the council, again, land use, redevelopment, all of it, it's in the city of Los Angeles, has a political arm to it. The question is whether our reports are right and accurate, and if folks are bringing up that they don't believe our numbers are accurate, then we need to have that discussion. But for the most part, again, our analysis should be real technical financial analysis and whether there's funding that we are giving to those folks.
Just a few more questions, yeah, if you don't mind?
Sure, absolutely.
One or two. Jim, if you're at liberty to talk a little bit about potential future for CRA, I assume you guys would rather have half the money than no money. A hypothetical, if you had half the money versus what you have today, how might you make decisions differently? And a second question, I'd be curious your thoughts on this 30-year lockup of the tax increment. You know, can we do this with some more flexibility? Do we always need 30 years?
Right, and I think that's part of that first, I'll take that question first because that's a bigger question. There is idea in reform that you can be really quick and if it's catalytic and fast, and why do you need another 25 years if you've really started the ball rolling and moved it forward? I think that's something the state assembly and the legislature and even the governor have all had an idea that they want to talk about, and certainly we're open to the idea. Certain projects may not need to go that long. Go back to the first one.
Money, if you had half the money.
Right, half the money.
How might you do things differently?
I don't know if we would necessarily do things differently. We would just have to do them, you know, look for a more economic, you know, you would have to look for some real value pieces that we can put money into that doesn't take obviously a lot to get something out of it. So, you know, if for instance we think industrial makes more sense here, we really want to build industrial, but housing's the one that really generates less of a gap, it may start to pull our policy one way or the other. Like, well, we can get affordable housing and new housing in this area, even though we think this is really good for incubating, you know, technology.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you.
Assuming that CRA survives in some form or another, or not, could you please take back to the powers that be the thought that when you evaluate projects, they should not be allowed to pencil out based upon the placement of billboards all over them?